Well, this is an exciting moment, right? I think you're either very close to submitting your assessment for certification, or you're already in the review process. You have already submitted your assessment for review and are looking to get some more pointers on how to prepare for this. So either way, I think it's very exciting, and you're in for a wild ride, but a good one, right? I think so. I'm trying to give you some more pointers for what's coming up and what to expect, ideally to make it as smooth of a ride as possible. A little bit of a reminder here between the two entities of B-Lab that you may be in touch with or have been in touch with already. So you'll see that me and my colleagues at B-Lab Benelux, Olivia and some other lovely colleagues, we are representing B-Lab Benelux, which is the non-profit country partner responsible for the B Corp movement in the Benelux, so in our region. In a similar vein, there are B-Lab chapters across Europe, even at the other end of the world, so B-Lab Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, Taiwan, East Africa. We span the whole globe, essentially. And the role of these local teams is to provide context-related support. So we are here to help you make sense of it in the Dutch or in the Belgian or in the Luxembourgish market, and also to connect you with similar B Corps around you or in the same area. So on the other hand, there's B-Lab Global as well. So B-Lab Global is the certification and verification team. They are the independent verifying entity. So these are really the people that will be taking a look at your assessment and deeming it however they want to deem it, right? So they are really the ones conducting the verification work. Olivia, myself, and our colleagues are more to help you prepare for that process. But you will, in the near future, you will be talking directly with your analyst without the direct interference of the local country partner, B-Lab Benelux in this case. It's good to know that we, as B-Lab Benelux, are always available for support, but during your interactions with the analyst, they should be able to guide you through it pretty smoothly. I have a little bit of a small checklist here before we get into the step-by-step of the review process. So we're going to walk through the review process step by step, but these are some general tips and to-dos so that all the right circumstances are in place for you to have a successful certification journey. So starting with the track drivers, this should ring familiar to you, especially when we're talking about market, sector, and size. And especially the size, I think, is good to be aware that you should be keeping that up to date with the real-time situation that you're dealing with in your company. So if you created your assessment maybe a year ago, maybe even longer, you may have grown or you may have shrunk in size. So it's good to reflect that in the size track driver. Similarly, it's good to take another look at the sector that you chose, because we see from experience that in the review process, the most common reason for delays is actually that the analyst further down the line discovers that the company is on the wrong sector track, which means that we have to then retroactively change that, allow you to fill in some extra questions, which all in all just creates delays, and I think that's not very pleasant for anyone involved, right? So be sure to check your sector, your size, and your market again before sitting back and throwing your feet up. Also a note about the score. I've also recorded a video about impact business models and their difference to operational score. You want to make sure that you're not too heavily skewed towards impact business model points because, as you may remember from the other video, most B Corps certify with 0 to 2 impact business models. So it is not uncommon to be a little bit too ambitious with your impact business models, which is nothing to be ashamed of. I get it. It's just that we have it's more common for companies to be a little bit ambitious, optimistic about their impact business models. So be sure to have a conservative look at those before you continue in the review process. Are you aware of the legal requirement? That's an important one because it will be mandatory to certify to have amended your articles of association. So did you already implement this? Great, awesome. If you're in the process, also great. You'll have until the end of the review process to upload the amended articles. But if you haven't yet, and this is the first time you hear about the legal requirement, please have another look at that and make sure to start that as soon as possible because the review can't really progress until you show meaningful progress towards implementing the legal requirement. And lastly, have you accurately completed the company details page? I know that you've gone through the whole assessment and answered about 200 questions about your company. So the last thing you probably want to do right now is answer even more questions. But it is very important to have the company details page up to date because it says a lot about the structure of your company, and it helps the analyst to kind of get a sense of what kind of company they're dealing with and which factors they should be looking at during the verification. So we're going to walk quickly through the different topics in the company details page, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Just be aware that this needs to be filled out quite diligently. So if I can get this to work. So the company details page, you will find it at any point in time in the bottom left of the menu, so right here at the left-hand side. And what it will look like is something like this. There is a section about company headquarters. So just to have clarity on, okay, this company is truly incorporated in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Luxembourg, etc. And to also have a website that the analyst can refer to, etc. This is quite basic, I would say, nothing too challenging. The corporate structure header is a little bit more in depth on both your operational date, so the analyst will use it to verify that indeed you have been operational for more than a year, because that is one of the eligibility requirements for B Corp certification. But they will also be able to see, okay, the corporate structure of the company. So we're dealing with a BV or an NV in the Netherlands, and also the ownership type. So are you independently owned, or are you a majority-owned subsidiary or a wholly-owned subsidiary? This is very important to flag as early as possible, because it might have implications on your certification pathway. A little section about branding and operations. So it will ask you, do you have the same name or sell products under the same brand name as other non-certifying companies? So this might be one of the flags as well, to take a little bit of an extra look at the structure of your company. So also be sure to fill this one out. Same goes for subsidiaries and facilities. Subsidiaries, just to emphasize, are legal entities that are either majority or wholly owned by the company. So whether it's an operational entity or a dormant financial entity, all subsidiaries should be listed in this section. And facilities is also a good one, because then the analyst will get an idea of, okay, how many facilities does this company have? How is their business structured? Do they just have, are they working from home only, or are they a product-based company with 3 different factories? So it will help them get a sense of the value chain of your company, and also about the size of your company, right? Products and services, very self-explanatory, can help with verification of impact business models. So if you have impact business models selected in your impact assessment, be sure to fill this out diligently, so that you can show which of your products or services have, for example, product-based certifications selected onto them. Then it's time to go a little bit more in depth in the review process. So we've now double-checked our sector and size. We have implemented the legal requirement. We have checked our company details page. And now it's time to prepare a little bit for the actual review process. So what does it look like? What will it entail? In essence, there are a couple of steps involved before becoming certified. So after having submitted your assessment, you ended up in the evaluation queue straight away. So that's the first phase here on the left. The evaluation queue is the first phase after submission of your assessment. So a lot of people watching this right now will be in the evaluation queue. And you can use that time to gear up for review as you are waiting for capacity to be assigned. As soon as capacity is assigned, which means an evaluation analyst is reaching out to you, they will, during the evaluation, they will take care of the most structural elements of the review. That sounds a bit vague maybe, but we'll dive into more detail as well. So they will make sure that you're seeing the right questions and have the right assessment in front of you. If that all goes well, they will push you forward to the verification queue. So the second queue, as you are waiting for a standards analyst to be assigned. And this queue again will come with a couple of review tasks that you can complete during the wait for this second analyst. And as soon as a second analyst is assigned, you are basically pulled into verification, so the fourth phase here. During verification, the second analyst will really go in depth on your answers, on the answers that you gave in the assessment. If at any point in time you drop your score below 80 points, so between 75 and 80, you are eligible for an improvement phase. So the company is given a standardized amount of time, 3 months, to work on some short-term improvements to try to get the score back to 80 plus. So this is good to know that there is a bit of a safety net during the review, but it only applies if you remain above 75 points. So if you go lower than 75 points, unfortunately, the review will have to be closed. So make sure you're aware of that. Right before certifying, there are 2 items that need to be done. The legal requirement review, so that is that the analyst will verify that you have passed the legal requirement, you have amended your articles of association, and the final assessment check is good for the company to know. I always like to highlight this. This is kind of a peer review, quality assurance from B-Lab's end, meaning 1 or 2 extra analysts will broadly check the whole review process and how it was conducted to make sure that all the right procedures have been followed, and that neither company nor analyst has been having any blind spots during the review. So it's good to be aware that there's always a, I don't want to call it a second opinion because it's not a whole second review process, but it is a quality check and a peer review check. And after that, ideally, the review is completed successfully. At any point in time, you can find out your review stage by clicking on the reviews page on the left-hand side. And I really recommend doing that every now and then, even if you're waiting, because you'll see which review tasks are open for you and which review tasks are open for the analyst and which review tasks are still closed and will be opened in the future. So it's good to have an overview of roughly where you are in the process. This is what that can look like. This is a relatively small company. Most companies will have some more tasks associated with it, but you will see the headers here signify the review pages. So the evaluation queue, evaluation, verification queue, verification. And every phase has its own review tasks associated with it, which the analyst will complete as the review moves along. So we've mentioned already the evaluation queue is the very first stage after submitting the review, submitting your assessment for review. What is the evaluation queue about and what can you use that time for? It is a queue, so it means that you are waiting for an analyst to be assigned. That can either be a bummer or it can be an opportunity for you to dot your T's and cross your I's, or the other way around, right? To dot your I's, cross your T's. Take the last preparations because the BIA remains editable for the evaluation queue only. So as soon as you're assigned an analyst, an evaluation analyst, the assessment locks, it freezes, and it's not able to be edited by the company. So you want to make sure that you use the time after submission to maybe spot some quick wins. If you're realizing that your score might be a little bit close to the 80-point mark already, you might want to use the improvement report to get to at least 85 points, so you have a bit of a buffer. Also good to know for the evaluation queue is that B-Lab's capacity planning is to a large part automatized to pick companies that have completed their review tasks that are open to them, which means you have a direct influence over your waiting time, which I think is a good thing. That means that at any point in time, you can visit the reviews page and see which review tasks are open to you. It means that, for example, this company here on the right submitted and they didn't pay their submission fee straight away, which means that they have at least a couple of review tasks still to be completed before they can be picked up. So if you want to move quickly, I would highly recommend paying the submission fee immediately upon submission. And after that, you will also be asked to sign the B Corp statement, which is basically a quality assurance from the company side declaring that you have filled in the assessment to truth and accurately. And you can also already upload your legal documents if you have finished implementing the legal clauses into your articles of association. I mentioned already the B Corp statement. I won't dwell on it much longer. It is a review task, dare I say, one of the easiest, if not the very easiest review task, because it takes maybe 2 minutes to get an executive of your company to sign the statement to declare that they filled it in accurately and honestly. And this is necessary before you are able to be picked up for evaluation. Mentioned already the improvement report. You can check it out for yourself because it is basically automized. The algorithm itself will identify which questions you are not quite scoring the maximum amount of points yet. So you want to use that to bring your score to at least 85 points to have a bit of a buffer for the review process. The evaluation phase then, this is the first time that you are speaking with an analyst, with one of B-Lab's analysts, and they will make sure that you are seeing the right questions. You are seeing the right version of the assessment, as you will. They will confirm some baseline information about the company. I mentioned already, this is the first time you'll be speaking to an analyst. So ideally, they are able to guide you through this pretty well. If at any point you feel the need to reach out to us, please do. But the evaluation analyst is trained to guide you through this process, right? So they should be able to help you. Interaction with the analyst can both happen through email or the platform. Usually, I want to say most analysts prefer to have the communication all in the platform itself, so in the BIA tool using the comment functionality. And it's good to know that there is no call scheduled during the evaluation phase. So only, the review calls are only during the verification phase, which is later on. Good for both the analyst and the company to know is that the evaluation estimated time or approximate time, it should be able to be done in around 2 months if there's no major red flags or complex factors involved. It should be able to be done about 2 months' time. So the more responsive the company is, the quicker this can go as well. I will briefly show you. I will drag this out of the way if I can. Right. So I will show you briefly the review tracks, the review tasks that are associated with the evaluation phase. There is a track drivers check. So this is making sure that you are indeed a wholesale retailer or you are indeed a manufacturing company. And you're not supposed to be on a different track. Same goes for the size. So they will confirm the size with you based on your FTE calculation. So this is really to check your track drivers. They also do some scoping, which means they will ask some preliminary questions about your company structure to make sure that all entities that should be taken into account have been taken into account. And we have a bunch of resources to help you with this. Some videos I recorded as well, and some static resources on our website as well. So please do check those out because there are pretty clear guidelines about which entities should be taken into account of your certification pathway. They will also do a first scoring screen, so preliminary scoring screen, which among other things, has a preliminary first IBM check. So the term IBM by now is also not new to you anymore, I assume. Impact business models are those kind of add-on additional sections that provide extra points and are often what keep companies above the 80-point mark. So the evaluation analyst will already try to make sure a preliminary check. Are you kind of eligible for this IBM, or can we already rule that out? So it's good to be aware that the evaluation analyst is also going to ask some follow-up questions about IBMs. Some tips are, I think, quite straightforward. Being responsive helps. Both for speeding things up and also for not risking the review to be closed prematurely. That would be a shame, of course. Task deadlines are hard deadlines. I mentioned already the estimation of trying to keep things within 2 months. We've seen companies succeeding in doing it in a couple of weeks. If you're ever in a big crunch, in a time crunch, you can reach out to the analyst proactively. So before the deadline passes, they are human beings after all. We have extension policies for these deadlines. But just make sure to communicate this ahead of time so that the analyst knows that they can provide an extension. Upon conclusion of the evaluation analyst will no longer be assigned to your company review, so you will also no longer be able to reach them, as they will transfer you to the next queue, to the verification queue. Bilab Benelux becomes your point of contact again, so you can reach out to me or Olivia or whoever you have been in touch with before. Because they will, the evaluation analyst will push you forward to the verification queue. So again, this is the step after evaluation, and it is the step in the process where you're awaiting assignment of another analyst, but it is also a useful step for the company to start providing some standardized documents for the review process that will follow. This means a profit and loss statement, but there are also some other documents that we'll briefly touch upon. And I mentioned it already, the B-Labs Benelux team is your point of contact again. Companies on the small enterprise certification approach will have a unique review task associated with their review, which is the operational highlights task. And I think it's actually one of the coolest tasks in the review process. I hope that's not too nerdy, but I find it pretty cool because what does it do? The operational highlights task allows you to, as a company, you can choose 2 questions per impact area from the verification report that you want to highlight, that you're proud of, that you want to highlight to the analyst about how you set it up, how you put it into practice, basically. So you'll be given the exact guidance and the links to the verification report during the review, but essentially per impact area, so for the governance, workers, community, environment, and customers impact areas, you will be able to choose 2 of the questions per area where you feel very passionate about and you want to explain with a comment a little bit about how your company has implemented this. Once you have done this, you can leave a comment. Each of these tasks have comment boxes when you open them, and you can leave a comment notifying us that you are done with this task. I think it's quite an easy one. It doesn't take that much time to fill out, all in all, 10 comments supporting some of the answers that you gave. And it is necessary to complete this before you can be assigned another analyst. So it's good to be aware of this relatively low time effort, but it is essential to be assigned for another analyst. There is another task which is specific to small, medium enterprise companies. So the previous one was for small companies. For small, medium companies, there is the upload standardized documentation task. I already briefly mentioned the P&L statement, so that's the second one here in the bullet points here. But there's also the initial verification template. This is a structured way of collecting some of the data that the analyst will need. So you'll be able to fill out this template with your main suppliers, your facilities, and your employees. So this is just a standardized way of collecting data. You can also upload your employee handbook or your supplier code of conduct on this task if you have them. They are not mandatory. I would highly recommend having those though, because it can help to verify a lot of questions. Yeah, I mentioned already, standardized documentation is mandatory for SMEs, but having those documents is useful for all companies. Same note about deadlines here. There are deadlines associated with these review tasks, but please, if you feel like you're getting in a bit of a crunch, just proactively communicate about those deadlines, and we should be able to work out a timeline that works for all parties involved. Then the verification phase, which I think is what most people are expecting when they submit their assessment, but as you can see, there's a lot of steps that come before the verification work, but verification is really where the second analyst will be trying to step into the shoes of your employees and see what it's like to work for your company, and to properly assess the impact that your company has. So this is where we are in the process, and as I mentioned, a verification analyst is assigned to the company. And here, indeed, is really where the analyst goes into individual questions and tries to validate your answers that you gave using the documentation that you supplied. They are your main point of contact. Again, they will be able to guide you through this process pretty smoothly, so you momentarily stop interacting with the Benelux team here. Again, the interaction with your analyst happens both through email and the platform. It could be that your analyst has a strong preference for either of the two, or that the company has a strong preference for either of the two, and this should be able to be agreed upon between two parties. That should not be a problem. A review call is also carried out, so be prepared to supply some of the supporting reasoning, context factors during a review call. And overall, the verification process is more extensive, and because of that, also more personal process in the relationship with your analyst. This is what an average completed verification phase looks like in terms of the review tasks that are associated with it. So you'll see that there's quite a lot of review tasks. It's also for the analyst to have a structured way of working, right? So not each of these will require immediate attention of you as soon as you enter verification, but the analyst will be able to complete and open these review tasks at need. This is an important note that I want to give you. During the verification phase, companies receive a total of 2 opportunities to supply the supporting documentation in the right format, with the right explanation of how this document exactly supports, backs up the answers that you gave. In previous times, it was more possible to go back and forth with the analyst indefinitely until you reach agreement, but you can imagine that this drastically increased timelines because company reviews would be open forever. So there's there's been a bit of an update here. So companies have 2 opportunities to supply the right documentation in the right format. So really do pay attention to what the analyst gives as pointers about your documentation. Essentially, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but this might help people have a bit of a visual overview of it. So the first round is documentation submitted ahead of, during, and directly after the review call. So it's all about the review call there. The analyst will make some requests for certain documentation, and you can upload this, and they will prepare their review call based on this documentation. So they request the documentation, you will get a certain response period, and they will then use that supplied documentation to verify the question. If they weren't able to verify the answer that you gave, that was the first review round. If they didn't manage to verify the answer, they will give you a second opportunity. So they will have a second round of verification. So they will ask you again, look, I was not quite able to identify points A, B, and C. Please upload this, that, or this document. And then you go again, that's another request instance with a certain response period. And then the analyst goes into the verification mode. If they are not able to verify a certain answer, they will update the answer given to the answer that they can that they can verify. So they might adjust your answers here, but they will always share a rationale behind it. Then before we sign off, a couple of general verification tips. The legal requirement, I mention it again and again whenever I can. So if you haven't started this yet, make sure to really start implementing your legal requirement into your articles of association because the review process is coming up. Impact business models are always zoomed into. They are points heavy, and they are what really sets your company apart from your peers. So they are always zoomed into, so be prepared to document diligently there. For the operations questions, that is not true. So not all 100% of the BIA operational questions are verified, but good rule of thumb, let's act as if they were. So for every point that you score, make sure you have the documentation to back that up, right? That makes sense, I think. On uploading documents, we recommend not uploading documents before you are actually asked because it can clutter the BIA as you're not able to delete these comments. So you risk confusing your analyst and also doing a lot of double work for a question that will not be verified. So I just always recommend people to have a kind of Google Drive structure or folder structure where you collect all the documents that you might need in the verification process. That's it. I'm sure you are now more than able to bring your verification process to a successful completion. Good luck, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future.